Yo, wow, I'm on air. I'm really doing this. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Courtney McIntosh, and this is the first episode ever of the Black Dad Chronicles. What this is a project that I've been working on for about 2 years. First started off as a blog. I actually have a blog that is www.blackdadchronicles.com. It's a WordPress blog, so you can get to it on WordPress. Started another one, but I haven't posted anything to it. But yeah, this is it. It's easier for me to talk than it is to write, like a lot easier. So I decided, because I already co-host a podcast, that I might as well go ahead and transition the blog into a podcast. So I'm still going to keep the blog. I'm just going to publish the episodes on the blog if I can. I'm pretty sure I can. So, what is Black Dad Chronicles and who am I? Well, first, for the who am I? Like I said, I'm Courtney. I'm from Detroit. 36 years old. Father of 3 beautiful children, 2 girls and a boy. Navy veteran of the restaurant industry, yada, yada, yada. But I, like many of the people I knew growing up, and a lot of people that I know, grew up without a father. I was raised by my mother. Shout out to Mom Dukes. Just like basically all of my friends growing up. I can remember growing up only one friend whose father was in his life, and that was my boy Craig. But other than that, like everybody on my block, all of my friends in the neighborhood, none of us had any dads, around. And, my dad died when I was 10, but he was never really in the picture like you would hope. He and my mom divorced when my sister and I were 4 years old. I have a twin sister. So we basically saw him like maybe once a year. And honestly, and it's probably because it was so long ago, I can only recall seeing my dad maybe 5 times in my life. That's from what I can recall. But so like I said, I was raised by my mom. I did have a few male role models in my life. My mom's brother, my Uncle Keith, his best friend Andre. They took care of us, and they weren't our dads. Uncle Andre had kids of his own, but he made sure that he did stuff with us, so we wouldn't, I guess, feel fatherless, I can remember, me and my brother getting to talk, the sex talk from Uncle Andre. He taught me basic things to stand up for yourself. Don't let anybody, run you over. Don't let anybody walk over you. He taught me to work hard. Uncle Keith taught me that nothing is ever going to be handed to you in life. If you want something, you got to work for it. You got to go get it. And those are the same things that I try to instill in my children today. So the reason why I started Black Dad Chronicles, the blog, was because, living in America, it seems like the narrative. Now, it may seem like we live in a patriarchal society, but in reality, in my opinion, we live in a matriarchal society. So mothers really get, mothers really get shine. Mothers take care of the home, provide meals and do everything that the working dads can't do. Mom takes care of the home. Unless you're a single mom, then society wants to crap all over you. But I feel like I'm a dad. I have a lot of silly stories to tell. Not just silly stories. I have a lot of stories about, personal growth as a father, because I didn't have a playbook for this. I didn't have nobody to show me how to be a father. I just had, when my son was born, it was just me basically learning on the fly. Add to the fact that my wife and I were living in Florida at the time because I was stationed in Jacksonville. I had nobody around to show me what to do, to be a father, So I started Black Dad Chronicles, one, because I think dads have great stories to tell. And not just, any dads, black dads, because black dads are, if you listen to society and you listen to the narrative out there, black men always abandon their kids. There are never any black men in the home. So that's what leads to, all these single mothers out here, raising these sons, raising these children, and the children are just going to repeat the same circle. They're going to grow up. If they're boys, they're not going to be involved in the child's life. If they're girls, they're just going to have babies by, random dudes and not going to let the father be in the life, or the father's just not going to care. So I wanted to change that narrative around. Also, the amount of senseless killing of unarmed black men in this country over the last, couple years, it was just getting to me, man. I was just tired. And so I decided to put my feelings down on paper, and that's how the blog started. But it's becoming increasingly harder for me to write, just because, right, if you ever been, considered yourself a writer, you got to have time for that. So, long story short, I host another podcast. It's called Hit the Ropes Radio. It's a wrestling podcast. I host it with 4 other black dads, even though that's not a part of the wrestling show. But we are all, black dads, and dads who are married to our children's mothers and active in our child's lives. So maybe I'll have them come on, someday. But I had podcasting equipment. I had a microphone. I like to talk, and I talked to a couple friends of mine about stuff, and I'm like, man, why don't I just put this in podcast format? So that's what I decided to do. So that is Black Dad Chronicles. That's me. That's who I am and why I'm doing this. So what my goal is to do with this each and every week is, to bring you stories of those black fathers, being someone I know, not random, but any stories that I see on Facebook or Twitter or the internet, or just other things in the culture that I feel like talking about, because this is my show. I can talk about whatever I want to talk about, be it rap, be it sports, be it food. I love food. So I am gonna, talk food on here, health and weight loss, nutrition, mental health. I'm gonna talk about everything, because dads, you're taught, be tough, be a man. Don't let nobody see you cry. Don't nobody let you see any type of weakness. But dads, men aren't hard all the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's a narrative in the black community that your men have to be straight, just hard rock all the time. And you know what? That's not me. I was a goofy ass little kid, growing up. Just like to play and have fun. And I'm still that way as an adult. Now I've matured some, but I am still that same, fun-loving, goofy guy that I was when I was 16 at 36. Plus now I have kids, so I got, 3 in-house playmates, basically. I ain't got to go down the street, see if one of my friends can come outside, or look for the bikes, like we used to. My kids are here. And, it's a balance, between, being your kid's friend, and being a disciplinarian. I'm gonna talk about discipline on the show, just a myriad of random things that I could think of each week. I'm going to throw out questions on my Facebook page. I'm going to throw out questions on my Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is Black Dad. That's capital B, capital D, _ Court, COURT. So this week I wanted to talk about, speaking of sports and speaking of fathers in the news. If you're a sports fan, especially a fan of college basketball, you know where I'm going. LeVar Ball, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about LeVar Ball, dad of 3 young men, Lonzo, LiAngelo, and LaMelo. They're basketball players from Chino Hills, California. Lonzo is a starting point guard for UCLA this season. This is going to be his only year in college. He's projected to be a top 3 pick in the NBA, really a top 2 pick in the NBA draft next year. Then you have the middle son, Jello, as they call him. He's a senior at Chino Hills in California. He will be a freshman at UCLA. I haven't seen many tapes on him. I do follow recruiting and stuff, by the way, but I haven't really seen many tapes on him. I did just look up on 24/7 Sports. They had him rated as a 3-star recruit. And then you have LaMelo, who a lot of people think will be the best of the bunch. He is a sophomore, I believe. And these kids are already pretty tall. ESPN did a piece on them the other day. They were standing next to each other. Lonzo is 6'6". Jello is like 6'6", and he's like, dude's like built like a tank. You know what I'm saying? And then LaMelo is pretty tall and skinny too, but he has a lot. He has the high top little, mohawk that the kids be wearing these days. I don't know what to call it. If I had hair, I wouldn't be rocking my hair like that. But that just looks just not for me. But hey, man, let the kids have it. So, they're all highly touted recruits, high profile recruits. Not only because of the way they play basketball, but the way their team plays, their high school team plays. I mean, they blow teams out by a lot. Jello averaged 50 points a game this year. LaMelo had a 92-point game this year. He had a 72-point game this year. So the kids, they get a lot of hype and they got a big following. Now, one person who's been looked at as sort of a black cloud over the kids is their dad, LeVar. And LeVar Ball is a big guy. He's boisterous. He's confident. Looks like, and he has no problem telling you how good his kids are. Which, hey, you got a lot of kids, a lot of parents like that in youth sports. That'll just, oh, my kid is this good. My kid's gonna be the next Jordan. My kid's going to the NBA. My kid's going to the NFL. Oh man, I'm gonna have the next elite starting pitcher in the major leagues. And a lot of times, it's just parents believing in their kids' own hype, number one. And number two, just, trying to live their sports dreams vicariously through their children. But with LeVar Ball, he can say that. He can say all those things, how about his kids are the best in their sport. How his kids are going to go number one, that they're all going to go to the league. And he has right now a pretty compelling case for, 2 out of the 3. Well, we know one, even though the NCAA tournament starts tomorrow, because this is Wednesday. No, the NCAA tournament starts tomorrow. We know Lonzo is going to be either the first, second, or third pick in the NBA draft next year. Even though this is considered to be a deep NBA draft with a lot of talent coming out. Any website you go to which does NBA draft projections, have Lonzo going either number 1 or number 2. As a matter of fact, I'm pulling up Draft Express right now, www.draftexpress.com. They have Lonzo going number 2. And ESPN has him in their top 3, I believe, in their top 2. So his kids actually, are backing it up. And all 3 of the boys, the 2 younger boys, they already were committed to UCLA, and even LaMelo, being in the 10th grade this year, is committed to UCLA. So a lot of people, because LeVar Ball has made some boisterous comments, probably the most boisterous being that Lonzo is better than Steph Curry already, and if you replace Steph Curry with Lonzo on the Warriors, look what would happen. Hey man, Steph Curry is a 2-time MVP. Anybody who's a basketball fan, we're not trying to hear that noise. But hey, he's confident in his son's abilities. But one of the main reasons why people are upset with him, because he's loud. First of all, we know America doesn't really like a big black man who's loud. It's a turnoff to a lot of people. So LeVar Ball has built a brand for his children called the Big Baller brand. And with Big Baller brand, they sell sweatshirts, they sell, tank tops, t-shirts, hats, stuff for men, women, kids. I'm looking at some of the hoodies right now. The logo isn't bad. I kind of like the logo. Lonzo will be he's claimed that Lonzo will be the first person coming into the NBA with his own brand. And cats don't come into the league with their own brand. A lot of high school cats come into the league with their, established following and things like that. But he has built a brand for his 3 children. His most latest boast was, he had 2 of them, that he wants a $1 billion shoe deal, for his 3 kids. The younger 2 can't touch the money for a long time. But, Lonzo is going to be looking for a sneaker deal in the next few months. But he's going to come into the league with this Big Baller brand, already being established. So he's going to have that. So what if Lonzo, whenever he got his shoe deal, he was able to get that logo for Big Baller brand licensed and put on his shoes? That's a win for Big Baller brand. That's a win for the Ball family, because, you probably got to pay a lot of money for that licensing. And the way LeVar talks, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for that. So most people will see it as irresponsible, as exploitation. ESPN ran a piece on the Ball family, the Ball brothers, this past weekend. It was about 8 minutes. By Scoop Jackson. Scoop Jackson just happens to be probably my all-time favorite NBA writer, because he wrote for Slam magazine so long, and I used to collect Slam magazines like they were rare baseball cards. My wall in my room growing up was just covers and the Slam of the Month, a Slam magazine. But yeah, man, so Scoop Jackson, one of the things that stuck out to me was Scoop Jackson asked LeVar, what do you say about all the people who are saying that you're exploiting your children and da-da-da-da-da? So LeVar said what I probably would have said. What do you think UCLA is doing? because for the longest in this, in college sports in general, especially college basketball, and it's so funny that it's UCLA when the O'Bannon brothers, Charles and Ed, who played at UCLA, were at the forefront of this NCAA licensing lawsuit with using players' likenesses for their video games and things like that. But there's long been a story of how colleges can profit from these kids, make millions upon millions of dollars from these kids, and the kids don't get anything but, and I'm using air quotes here, the free education. Well, here's the thing. These kids are using sports as a way to get to the next level. And in the two major sports in this country, the NBA and the NFL, you have to attend college at least 1 year. So basically, you have to go to college. In the NFL, you have to you cannot come out before what would be your junior season. But in the NBA, it's one and done, and we know that it's one and done. So we know a lot of times these kids, are probably, March? They're probably, and the NCAA tournament is about to start. They're probably checked out already. It was a big thing with Ben Simmons, who was the number 1 pick in this year's draft. Went to LSU this year, and last year, I'm sorry. And it was a big thing about how his grade point average was super low, and how can he be considered for the Wooden Award when his grade point average is so low? And his response was, I didn't come to college to be a college student. I came to college so I can play basketball and get to the NBA. And that's exactly what he did. So I would have the same answer to Scoop's question that LeVar Ball had. What do you think that UCLA is doing to my son? UCLA is going to sell a bunch of number 2 jerseys, because that's what number Lonzo wears. They're going to sell a bunch of number 2 jerseys, and the Ball family is never going to see any of that money. Lonzo Ball is never going to see any of that money. Now, he will get handsomely, paid with his NBA contract and probably his, endorsement deals and stuff like that. But people, I don't like the narrative that LeVar is exploiting his children, because it's not like he's trying to. Well, it doesn't seem that he's trying to live vicariously through his kids. It doesn't. He said, and in his own words, he had a plan. He was gonna make basketball players. That's what he did. So he said he sought out the tallest, most athletic woman, who was also beautiful, that he could find, and he found his wife and he married her. And he said that, he was going to make basketball players. And that's what he did. So essentially you could look at it as LeVar Ball calling his shot. And it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. Now, we like to see talk about how these soccer moms and soccer dads, and not just soccer. I'm using soccer because that's the first thing that came to my head. But how they're always, they talk about their kids when their kids aren't like that good, and they talk about their kids and they complain when their kids aren't getting playing time, and they yell at the kid when they mess up, and they pretty much embarrass them. It doesn't seem like the Ball kids are embarrassed by their father. As a matter of fact, Lonzo said, hey, he's been this way my entire life. I know how he is. I just play basketball. So I see it as two things. One, LeVar Ball being extremely confident in his children's talents. And to say something that to the point where that Lonzo is better than Steph Curry right now, that's got to have some extreme confidence in your kids. And he said, I know what my boy can do, and he does. Now he's also put a target on Lonzo's back. Man, I'm pretty sure everybody from John Wall to Kyle Lowry to Kyrie Irving to Isaiah Thomas to Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry. All of the elite point guards in the league, when he comes in next year, are going to be gunning for him. But LeVar Ball had a perfect quote for that too. He said, "Let him bring it, because that's the only way he's going to get better, is if he gets everybody's best game." And, that's true. So you got to think, right? Say Lonzo is his only son that gets to the league and is successful in the league. He's still got that big baller brand behind him. That's their baby, So imagine if Lonzo Ball, by his third season in the NBA, his fourth season in the NBA, is being considered for the All-Star game, being considered for first team All-NBA. A lot of people think he's that good. Then what's going to happen? That big baller brand is going to blow up. It's going to be outside of Chino Hills. Everybody going to be trying to wear that, What happens? That creates, probably a windfall for the family, because they already have that brand. That brand is already behind them, and it's a brand that they've built. And because his kids are so good, it's probably going to be bigger, And guess what LeVar is doing? He's keeping not only his kid's name in the media, but his name in the media. So we know who he is, We know who their dad is. And by all accounts, they're really good people in the community. They're, really good family. It's not like one of those, shady families that's trying to take money from colleges, or one of those dads or coaches, "Yo, you want my son to come play for your university? I want 100 racks. I want 100K. Because that happens, But by all, by all accounts, there's been none of that with LeVar. The only reason why people don't like LeVar Ball is because of the outlandish comments he's made. That's understandable. So, I'm ending with this. I think I think LeVar Ball is doing something good for his kids. He's believing in them. He's pushing them. He's making them better. And the kids seem to enjoy it. So, do you think LeVar Ball is exploiting his kids? I don't. But let's see what you guys have to say about it. So, that's going to conclude this week's episode, the inaugural episode of the Black Dad Chronicles. Join me. I don't have a specific date yet for each week for when the podcast is going to come out. I would like to say Wednesdays, but Hit the Ropes is Wednesday, so I don't want to block the shine and Hit the Ropes. So, you can follow me on Twitter at Black Dad, that's capital B, capital D, _ Court, COURT. I was trying to find something that was better than that, man. And while, including the podcast name in it. But, that was the best I could come up with. And the best that was available. So you can follow me on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle. You can follow me on Instagram at Black Dad Chronicles. And, wait a minute. Hold on. It's Black Dad Chronicles. Or it might be Black Dad Chron. Hold on, man. I'm sorry. I'm so unprepared. But, yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at Black Dad Chronicles. I knew it was right. So on my Instagram page, you're just going to see a picture of me, my kids, comic books, because I'm into comics too. I collect comics. As a matter of fact, I have comic book videos on my YouTube page, Courtney McIntosh, where you can find me. If you want to check me out at other places, like I said, usually every other Wednesday, I'm on Hit the Ropes Radio with Shane, Darius, and Meech. That podcast is every Wednesday night from 9 to 10. During the big 4 pay-per-views, we watch wrestling with our friends, and we also usually do a recap for the other auxiliary pay-per-views immediately following those. So Like I said, that's it. I want to thank you all for listening. Just pray for me. Continue to build with me. I want to tell stories, and if you for all you dads out there, man, I want to tell your stories. You know, come holla at me. Just shoot me a message on Facebook if you want to be next up. I'll come. We could come somewhere. I'll meet with you, and we'll do a straight up face to face interview, something like that. But all right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Join me next week. Peace.